Thank you so much for joining me on the HustleWing podcast. It's pretty casual. I have a few questions for you. We have a conversation about you, your business, 2024. But how I like to kick things off is for you to introduce yourself, tell us a bit more about yourself, your position, the company, and how 2024 has started off for yourselves. So over to you.
Sure. Well, my name is Nicole Craveiro. I have been in human resources since 2016. I
Mhm.
started off my career in providing administrative support services for accounting firms, and I joined a startup accounting firm. And I was really the only person remotely qualified to do the human resources function. So
Okay.
the responsibilities kind of got dumped on me, but it turned out that that was like a really great thing because I loved it. Went
Mm-hmm.
back to school, got my master's degree in HR, got my SHRM certification, my PHR certification, pretty much every certification you can think of, and
Mm-hmm.
went off, did HR full time, and started my own HR consultancy, Crave HRO, in 2021.
Okay, so 4 years in. Okay, cool. Okay, and
Yeah.
how's the changes been sort of like going through the pandemic into it, out of it, into 2024? How was last year in comparison to this year? How's that going in terms of the whole thing?
So I had a kind of interesting journey. When I first
Mm-hmm.
started my business, I was also working internally as an HR manager. So my business was kind of my side hustle at the time. Unfortunately, my family went through a rather tragic event. But it's okay. Everyone's fine. We came out stronger. But at the time, I leaned on my business to kind of provide me the
Mm-hmm.
flexibility that I needed to be able to take care of
Mm-hmm.
my family. And since then, my business has grown exponentially. I've probably tripled in size in terms of clients. It's still really just me at the moment, but I anticipate that changing in 2024. I mean, this year I set a revenue goal in December for 2024
Mm-hmm.
and I hit it in January, so I can't complain.
Nice, awesome. No, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
so you've said now it's just you and the team. So how does the picture look when you use any? Do you use any sort of outside help and so forth? What are the current needs that you've currently got for other services, for marketing, for outreach, for client services, for the management of that sort of work coming in? Where are those sort of like roadblocks for you? Where's it very busy and becoming sort of like a bit of a bottleneck?
So I'm an outsourced HR consultant, so I provide outsourced HR services to the employers that I
Mm,
work with. And I do the same
yeah,
thing for my business. So I outsource my marketing, I outsource
cool.
my accountant, bookkeeping. Um, I do work with one contractor currently. She
Hmm.
just started last month. She has more HR experience than I do. So she's kind of on the back end right now. I do
Hmm.
anticipate having a team, hopefully by the end of the year, that
Okay.
can help me with supporting my clients. Um, my clients and I have a relationship that we've developed over the years. I've met a lot of them through networking locally. And I've really become like an advisor that they, have learned to know and trust. So hopefully I can onboard more people that I, will
Yeah.
be able to integrate into the day-to-day stuff.
And what does that day to day like look like? So talk me through sort of like a client or okay, so not a client, a business has a need for what you do, right? And they've searched for you, they come onto your website or they find you on LinkedIn or whatever. How are they finding you, and how are they engaging with you, and how does that look when it comes through to you? So that lead that gets converted into a client. What is that process? Because I find that interesting to ask because it tends to sort of like outlie the opportunities that the side hustlers who are sitting at a very senior level could potentially sort of like plug in. But I like to understand as well as what your customer life cycle is, from beginning all the way through to signing on and onboarding them.
So a lot of it is through word of mouth and the relationship
Mm-hmm.
that I've built in the local business community. But I do market. I am on LinkedIn. I do have a website. And I offer it's like subscription services, so to speak, month to month.
Yeah.
I don't believe in long-term contracts. Like if you don't want to work with me,
Mm.
that's cool. I don't want to keep anybody locked in. I mean,
Yeah.
it hasn't happened yet, so it's looking good, like it's working.
That's good.
But essentially I offer different levels of service based on the client's needs. So, if I have smaller clients that are just getting started, they're just hiring and they just need some guidance. My tagline's the HR guidance you crave. So they just need some guidance. How do I do this compliantly? I'm just bringing on employees. What do I need?
Uh-huh.
I have an advisory level service, and that's like my base level. And then it goes up from there, from advisory to administrative, where I'm actually like doing the work, like things like payroll,
Mm.
communications, any type of notices that they receive that they need to respond to, things of that nature.
Mm.
And then in the next tier, I get involved with the employees, and I'll help with like one-off employee assistance, like onboarding, offboarding, if there's any performance
Mm.
management that needs to be done. And
Mm.
then finally, there's like a HR presence type of package where I'm essentially integrating myself into your culture, where your employees can reach out to me at any time for any reason, and I can be a resource to them, as well as your entire leadership team. In your staff meetings, your leadership meetings.
Mm.
I am essentially a part of your team.
That's cool. It reminds me of two movies. It reminds me of a TV series and a movie. The TV series is called Billions, and I'm not quite sure if you've ever seen it, but there's okay, it's pretty funny. But there's an HR practitioner. She's like a psychologist on staff and kind of like performance manages all the team and so forth. And she's integral to the entire business. But the question I have for you: have you ever had to sort of actually let someone go and fire them and actually performance manage them out?
I
Really?
have, yes.
And and what's that like? What is that process like? I mean, that could be difficult. Imagine.
It can be. It's never fun, but
Mm.
it's sometimes necessary for the betterment of the business. There's a right way to do it, a humane way to do it. I mean, sometimes you give them the opportunity to improve, and that just doesn't happen, and it's unfortunate, but you have to part ways. And sometimes there is gross misconduct, and it's a little bit
Mm.
easier, um but there's still a right way to do it. And certain
Mm.
states, especially in the US, like there's certain steps that need to be taken during the
Yeah.
termination process, and
Mm-hmm.
need to make sure that you take those steps in order to protect yourself as an employer. And I'm there to do that. Hmm.
That no, of course. I mean, which is
Yeah.
the difficult part of what you need to do.
Mhm.
Okay, and let's talk about. You just said now you had your revenue goals for January already.
Yeah.
From last year. So that's amazing. So what are your plans for the rest of the year? What are those milestones for the rest of the year? So if we have a conversation in December, what are you going to say to me?
Uh, well, the goalpost keeps moving, so I'm just going
Mm-hmm.
to continue to strive to keep improving my processes, keep growing my company. I'm going to really work on getting my processes and procedures out of my head and onto
Mm.
some kind of digital platform where, just in case something were to happen to me, my clients will be well taken care of.
Sure.
And hopefully, I'll be able to, continue growing, and I'll be organized and ready to take on a team.
Yeah, I found that when I ask that question, it's interesting, especially if I'm dealing with I found a startup that's doing everything. And one of the skill sets that come into play in this part is the sort of like the biz dev and the financial guys that have got that highly sort of like that big experience to get those procedures out, to get those workflows into place, to really understand what the long term goals is. So you're not living, what's the term? There's living in the business and living on the business, where so you as founder are focusing on the bigger picture as opposed to having to zoom into the nitty gritty. You know what I mean? So our financial is very important as well in terms of projections, managing that as well. I mean, I know it's a rhetorical question almost, but what part of that does it take up a lot of your time? That
Yeah, it does. I mean, I'm constantly, especially in today's world, there's a ton of different technologies that I'm looking into, I'm investing in. But that's the thing too. And I was thinking about this last night. Like, yes, I did hit my revenue goals, but yes,
Mm.
I'm also investing a lot more in my business. So, but that's the thing. Like, I'm investing in my business, not somebody
Yeah,
else's. so
that's
so
the
it's super
difference.
rewarding.
Yeah, yeah, that's the big difference. Absolutely. And in terms of the competitors, out of interest, I mean, do you have a lot of competition in not in your market necessarily, but like where you are? And is it different to the local market that you're in, or to how you want to expand?
Um, so yes, I do have a ton of competitors. And it's beyond the local market because I operate nationally as well. My first client was in Arizona. I have a client in California. I have clients with employees with distributed workforces that are all over the place working remotely. Um,
Okay.
but I don't really look at them so much as competitors. I mean, like, one of the consultants that I work with most closely, we actually met through an old employer of mine. She took my place when I left, and we kept in
Mm-hmm.
contact over the years. And
Mm-hmm.
she went out on her own recently, and we've been, meeting up regularly. And we bounce ideas off of each other. We share resources. If there's something that we're not clear on, like a new regulation or something like that, we reach out to each other and we're like, hey, this is what I think. What do you think? And we try
Mm.
to make sense of it together. I mean, even sometimes like we'll get prospective clients that might not be a good fit for what I'm looking to do, but it might be a
Mm.
good fit for what she's looking to do and vice versa. So we
Oh,
partner and collaborate in a way more than compete against each other. So
okay. And you mentioned that you use a lot of remote workers. Let's go through some of those. Like, who are you currently using? Who's currently on contract? Who's freelancing for you? What are those exact people? Who are those people right now?
so right now I am not so I meant that more towards like my clients have a lot of remote employees, which with
Sure.
them in different states, now that means that there's different laws that apply.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
However, I do imagine that that's the direction that I'm heading in which
Yeah.
case I'm probably going to be looking for like people that specialize in different areas of HR, so that they could focus
Okay.
on so that like my clients, not only will I have a team, but my clients will also have a team. So like a
Yeah.
payroll specialist, a benefit specialist, someone who recruits, because that's not something that I particularly enjoy. I'll do it,
There we go. Okay.
but I'm, an HR expert. I'm not a recruiting expert.
Okay, so that makes sense. So actually building up the team that you're able to plug into other businesses, which makes you able to scale,
Correct.
actually.
Yes.
Got you. That makes perfect sense. Okay, okay, great, great. And out of interest, in terms of legal and legislative changes, like are there massive differences between different cities and different? I think you already mentioned that though. But how much does that impact you in terms of the different clients that you've got and the paperwork involved in onboarding them? And the manpower that's needed in that.
Well, it certainly gives me job security.
Sure. Sure.
I actually just was, it's funny because yesterday, no, the day before yesterday, I actually had like a nightmare that regulation changed and I missed the compliance update. And I woke up with like anxiety, like, oh my gosh, did something change overnight and I missed it? Like, let me check my
Oh
sources.
wow. Oh
Yeah,
wow. Okay.
but essentially, the way it works is that like my clients, um, the laws changed based on where they're located, how many employees they have in each location. And, I have
Mm,
to just stay on top of that. I have to use the tools that, I invest in and stay on top of that. And when something happens or changes that applies to them, I have to communicate that to them or, implement whatever the change is um,
mm.
to their policies and procedures and their workforce. Mhm.
No, it's interesting what gives people anxiety. I mean, the fact that gives you nightmares. Wow. But makes no, it makes sense. You have to live it. You have to really be on the forefront of all the changes and everything that and keep up to date with it. That's what you're there to do.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And tell me, so in terms of where besides onboarding a new team and growing it and so forth, getting people in house and all that, and scaling the business, and what other growth areas do you see yourself going into over the next, let's say now, 2 to 3 years? Um, will it be more? I mean, is everything kept being done remotely? Will you do brick and mortar as well? Will you do different sort of consultancy sort of approaches? I'm just asking out of pure interest because it's a very sort of hands-on industry where that human interaction is so important. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
So currently I'm while I operate virtually for the most part because I'm working with almost 20 employers at any given time.
Mm.
I do have some on-site presence at some of my local clients. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
even some of those who are in different states. I mean, I flew across the country for one of my clients' holiday parties in
Mm-hmm.
December. So I do kind of show face physically in person, from time
Mm-hmm.
to time, or if there's a situation that, it's best that I'm there in person.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do imagine that I will potentially have a physical location. I mean, right now I'm taking this call from my home office.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also, working on getting my name out there, establishing myself even more so as, expert in my field. Working on professional public speaking, still something that I struggle with, but I'm, trying. I'm doing this.
Okay.
um,
That's that's something you just need to do. It's something that it doesn't resonate with me. I do stand up comedy, so for me, being in front of
really?
people, I've been doing it for about 15 years. So like standing in front of people is the most least intimidating thing for me to do. I'll tell a room full of strangers my secrets before I'll tell my mom. Do you know what I mean? So
Really?
it's it's something you just have to do. And don't imagine the audience naked. Just find someone in the first row and speak to them, and then everyone else disappears. That's the trick. So
I'll
there's
keep
my
it
freebie.
in mind.
Yeah, there's my freebie for you. Would you be open to? I mean, seeing that there's so many moving parts and all that, members of the HustleWing community literally reaching out to you and almost pitching you what they do in your obviously if your business, your industry, and your sector resonates with them and they've got experience in it, and they literally reach out to you and go, "This is what I do, and I've done this with other people in a similar industry, and we'd love to do this for you," and so forth. That's one way for them to actually engage with you, besides actually posting that there's an opportunity and so forth. But would you be open to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I am always
Yeah,
open to working, with other business owners, always
yeah,
open
yeah,
to making new connections. And, even if it's
yeah,
not a fit for me, like I said, I, there's always a fit for someone else that I might,
yeah.
know that it could benefit.
Absolutely. That's cool. Well, look, what we're going to do is as well, we're going to definitely engage with you on LinkedIn, and we'd love to post some of these sort of as we sort of like sculpt them opportunities and connections on LinkedIn because it's such a great platform. You know what I mean? So if you open to that as well, we'll definitely do that.
I
And
love that.
I'll go ahead and create your profile on the team will on the platform, and you can actually go there and play around and have a look at what it looks like and so forth. And I'm pretty sure something will come of it. Based on what's happening with you in the business and all that. So, but I want to say thank you so much for your time. We're just about out of time now, so thank you for your time. And it
Thank
was
you.
wonderful to speak to you. Yeah, really interesting to hear
Same
about
here.
the landscape in HR. And I think that in the next few days we'll reach out to you. We'll send you the link with the interview. You can post it, and if you have any questions, you can let me know. But an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much.
Sounds great. Same here.